to say, well, look, if we don't perform here, we don't come through, the react inspection is not going to fund these tenants. They're not going to, be able to stay in a place in which, they want to stay. They want to, this is their home. Many of them have been there since the start, been there since the 70s. So it's like families on families. So we don't come through, they're going to be gone.
As an operator, I know other investors are romanticizing multifamily investing, and I'm looking to learn from other investors' mistakes. I know you are too, and you found the right place. Welcome to Myers Methods Presents Multifamily Missteps. Hey everybody, and welcome to Myers Methods Presents Multifamily Missteps. I'm your host, Jerome. I've got my man, A Donahue Baker, back with me today, man. How are things in Jersey?
Everything is beautiful in Jersey. It's we're going through the COVID situation, but other than that, it's beautiful in Jersey.
So I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with us your story about how you were able to create $500,000 in 30 days to take down this deal with some owner financing. I wanted to have you back because we started going down the path of affordable housing. And so with that, I don't want to steal all the thunder. Give the listeners a little bit about your background and how you got into affordable housing.
Awesome. Well, I'm A Donahue Baker. I am a CPA in my previous life, but right now I'm 100% real estate. I focus on purchasing value-add apartment complexes. That's really my niche. I'm starting to branch out and get into ground-up development. Well, I've done a couple ground-up development projects, have a couple in the mix right now. But by this time next year, God willing, you'll see me double the size of my current portfolio for those projects that I have in the pipeline. But I guess we're here today to talk about affordable housing, and I have a deal that probably my toughest deal to date. Definitely wanted to tell you guys about it. Hopefully you can learn from it, and hopefully you can see the opportunity in affordable housing and the value that you can provide people that really need it.
Wow. So it's a really niche-y part of multifamily investing, this affordable housing. You got all the special reporting. You got people where you can only put your rent at certain levels. And so I'm really excited to learn more about this. So where was the deal located and how'd you source it?
The deal was located in New Jersey, and I sourced it basically, once again, word of mouth. So I had another colleague that said, there's this apartment complex, over 100 unit, and they need someone to buy it. They need someone to come in that's going to fix it up and really give the tenants someplace, a better living place to be. And that's basically how I found it, and I saw it. Literally, I knew exactly where it was, just wasn't really familiar with the ownership at that particular time. So I went there and I reached out, met the owner. Great young man. We spoke. Before I know it, we had a contract, and it was 3 days.
Wow. So 100, 120, how many was it?
107 to be exact. Yes.
107 units. What'd you buy it for?
Bought this one for $5.6 million.
And how do you get these deals?
Well, this was once again, it's sourced. So I basically, a lot of people, it's a pipeline of deals that come my way. I look at about 100 deals a month, right? And out of those 100 deals a month, there's probably one or two good ones that are even, worth following up on. But if you know what to look for me, it's like, really looking for the opportunity to do a tremendous value add. And a lot of the time it's the lens from which you're looking at. So for this particular deal, you can look at it from a lot of different perspectives. You can look at it as what is the project worth currently, or you can look at it as, what can I convert this project to? And that's what I did. And I thought that's where, for this particular deal, that's where the value add came in. And I'm going to, we'll talk about the numbers a little bit later, but the opportunity is, boom, 5.6 million. That's what the property was bringing in. But with the right changes, the right management in place, this thing could, can hit another home run. So that's just the lens from which I looked at this particular deal.
Okay, so break it down for me. You grabbed the deal, you're under contract. You said this is your most challenging deal, so there had to be some missteps along the way.
Lots of them. Right. So, so where do I go with the missteps? I mean, they started from day one for the most part, but the takeaway, the real error in this particular deal is it took me over 1 year to close this deal. And it was scary because at times I thought that I was not going to close this deal. And at times I spent a tremendous amount of money before I even got to the closing table. And what that looked like was I had to purchase a phase 1 report, which wasn't cheap, phase 2 report, which wasn't cheap. I had to basically, the owner was in so much trouble. I had to literally, I advanced him money. All this before closing, by the way. I had to advance him money for the whole operation to even still be in place. There was a significant amount of repairs. There's a inspection. It's called the REAC inspection, right? This REAC inspection, if you don't pass it, the money doesn't come. The funding doesn't come. So it was a whole bunch of things I needed to do. I had to, this property was on, acres and acres. They failed the REAC inspection because the sidewalks weren't uneven. So, and then they failed because of, excessive amount of trees. I had to do all of this before I closed. And it put me in a situation where it was like, I don't think I'll ever do that again. But that was the most stressful deal. Like I was literally going through depression because at various times I had a 3-month contract with the option to extend it for another 3 months. And every step of the way, the value that was there, the seller basically, leveraged me like, look, this contract is about to expire. I got other people coming at me here, with better pricing, and I was getting that consistently. I was turning the screws on me, so it was tough. I mean, he really squeezed me, and I had to really lean on my legal team sometimes there, but the missteps is as with real estate development too. It's like, the money that you put out there, you don't ever want to put yourself in a position where if the deal doesn't go through, it could ruin you. That deal would have ruined me had we not closed.
How much did you have at risk? Because sidewalk leveling is not cheap.
Sidewalk leveling is not cheap. Removing trees. I mean, it was quite an expenditure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a few $100,000 at risk. Man.
Absolutely. We spent, before pre-close, I spent $500,000 pre-close.
So, but how did you protect the risk, right? Like if he pulled on you and you already had the money in the property, what recourse did you have?
The recourse I had was, it'll be a suit, right? So the recourse that I had was that the government agencies in play, which was HUD, and this was what's called this was a Section 236 project. Well, Section 236 mortgage, and I'm going to explain what that is for those that may not know what a Section 236 mortgage is. Back in the 70s, the government needed affordable housing. They still need affordable housing now, right? They need even more. But the government actually did something to encourage affordable housing. So they created these mortgages called the 236. And the 236 works like this. They would reach out to developers and say, look, if you build, we'll give you a 50-year mortgage and you'll pay 0 interest along the way. So and also that mortgage is assumable, right? So it was an incentive. Literally, the government gives you all the money to build, and then when you sell the project, the owner would basically pay 0% interest or close to it, right? Maybe 1 or close to 0, all the way through the life of the loan, right? Which would be 50 years, right? And for this particular project, that's what it was. We had an assumable mortgage. We had this thing called an IRP, which the government has a fund in there, which basically, pays you. There was $1 million in this IRP. So my goal was to say, well, look, the leverage that I had was to say, in order for and when you take this money, by the way, you have you have HUD as your partner. So every sale has to go through HUD. We went through HUD. We went through that process, which was a learning curve all in itself. I can talk to you about stories on that. But we went through that. We spoke to the number 2 man in the Trump administration. So I went right down to DC, and actually they were able to help me through that. So with the triangulation of leverage, we kind of said, look, it made me feel comfortable enough to put this money at risk. And I did, but it wasn't the smartest thing to do. So I have to put it out there.
I mean, that's terrifying. But I guess you wouldn't have been able to assume the loan if the issues with the inspection weren't resolved.
Correct. I wouldn't have been. Not only would I have not been able to assume the loan, but we possibly could have. If we were able to close, we could have possibly taken over a project that had, tremendous amount of vacancies, because those tenants wouldn't have gotten the funding that they needed to stay there, and they would have lost their funding. So there was a lot riding on that. So it was also a situation where we had to basically take the tenants' goodwill. And that was something that really propelled me through this process, to say, well, look, if we don't perform here, we don't come through, the react inspection is not going to fund these tenants. They're not going to be able to stay in a place in which they want to stay. They want to. This is their home. Many of them have been there since the start. Been there since the 70s. So it's like families on families. So we don't come through, they're gonna be gone.
What's up, guys? It's your host, Jerome. I just want to let you know we launched Myers Methods in the fall of 2019 with the ambition to inspire a new breed of multifamily investor. If you are interested in getting into multifamily or scaling your current business, hop over to our website at myersmethods.com to grab your free 4-step guide on how to get the ball rolling in multifamily. Now let's get back to the episode. Let them down. And I mean, obviously the current owner wasn't taking care of business, and so he wasn't actually giving them a clean, suitable, safe place to live, right?
Yeah, it was a situation where the current owner owned the place since the early 80s. And not only that, they're older. It was an older gentleman. He was up there in age, and they basically were doing the best that they could. But there were some major deficiencies, and because of the way that they were, running the operation, there was some real issues. They had some real capital issues.
So you put all the money at risk, you get the ball across the goal line, you close. Is everything perfect at that point?
I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's running efficiently, right? So as with anything, we basically, when we took over, we had this whole issue of staffing. I think 2 or 3 of the previous management, they actually had apartments in the facility, the management. So we made the decision to keep as much of the current staff as we could, to a certain extent, but we just brought in new management, a new management company that had, experience managing over 40,000 units. So their resume was impeccable, but we tried to save jobs. We tried to still keep that community feel. Of course, you can't please everyone, but, I go through there today and the tenants are happy, the changes that we're making. And, it makes me feel good that I'm actually providing a service that people can really feel. I grew up in affordable housing. So, it's key for me to give the best possible value, the best possible living facility that I could afford. And we're dumping millions into that project to increase the value of that particular project.
So did you partner with other folks to take down this deal, or?
Yes.
Okay. So how'd you pick who you were going to go in on this deal with? Because these deals are challenging.
Yeah. So at that particular time, I was under so much pressure with that deal. Like there was, other people saw the opportunity as well too. People they were saying, well, you purchased a $10 million property for half price, and the pressure was immense, right? So we had there was another Jewish group that would come after me. They would come to my house. They would say, "I give you $1 million for this contract today." They would just, trying to get this deal every way possible. So there was a core group that I had, and I basically put it out to them. And I said, "Look, this is an opportunity. Who wants to be involved?" And once you find a deal, the money will come, and the money came. But money wasn't an obstacle in this deal. It literally was the deal itself. The waiting a year. Like most people, we close these deals in 2-3 months tops. But to wait a year is not appetizing for investors. and I did a syndication on that deal. So I had the syndication business model on that deal. So that was my last syndication deal. So I'm sure, with your experience, I'm sure you know what it's like to do that. You have investors just barking at you like a year. And we, I knew it was going to take a year. I would have said, look, let's, I need this money to be in there for a year. But I didn't know. It was literally every 3 months we were changing. We had to go through HUD in DC, I explained earlier. Then there was the state level of HUD that we had to go through. We had to go through New Jersey Mortgage Housing and Finance. We had to go through the regional DCA office. I mean, it was just so many different layers and the complexity. I felt like I became a HUD expert by the end of this process.
So were you able to get this deal done without having somebody with prior HUD experience on the team outside of the property manager?
Nope. I actually paid one HUD consultant $40,000 to help me navigate it. Then we kind of, I guess, she might have gotten a little frustrated or whatever, and we had to hire somebody else. So I ended up paying another HUD consultant that actually brought me across the finish line. Real good dude that really just took right beside me every day, grinding it out with me, and we brought it across the finish line.
Wow. So that money was at risk too, because
absolutely, yeah,
you're close, right? So
absolutely. And what's crazy is you don't know what you don't know. So as you deal with these rules and regulations, I mean, there's stipulations in there that you can only because we were purchasing the property from a nonprofit. It was a situation where they could only, the HUD itself would only allow the nonprofit to make so much profit. So it was like that. Another thing working in our factor, when the seller was trying to drive the price up, I'm using all the leverage if it's possible to say, well, look, they're only going to let you make so much profit. So stay where you are. Don't drive the price up.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Were there any big surprises? I mean, you found out about the sidewalks and the trees and that stuff, but did you have any just like, oh man, I don't know if I should do this while you were going through the process?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. This deal fell apart at least 3 times over the course of a year, at least 3 times. It was, I'm telling you, it was, I thought it was going to be the death of me, literally, because the first hurdle, the original plan that we had was to assume the mortgage. So we were going to assume the 236, right? And we had, had all the funding in place, everything was ready to go. We just needed to do this last inspection to get the mortgage assumed. They found that not even any of the apartments, but there's like a river that ran through the back. It's like a wooded area that just it's on the land that I own, but it's so far away from the apartments it doesn't affect anything, right? It's just like a little trails, but because there's that river in there, the zoning came up that the property could possibly get flooded. And I just found out that they will, Freddie and Fannie, they won't insure a property in a flood zone. So just that little stream sent this whole thing reeling. And we were literally set to close. And I had to back up. And we lost we're going to the closing table. That issue came up and we couldn't assume the mortgage. So we had to put me in a tailspin. So I'm going back, tail between my legs, telling the seller, look, I need more time. I need to, and of course, negotiations, every time it's a give and take. So, it is what it is. But, one thing in real estate, you can always, always, always expect something to go wrong. So always, you just have to be prepared for it.
When you were getting those extensions, did he ask you for more money each time?
Yeah, so the issue was if we went out of contract, we literally would have to renegotiate the full terms. So yeah, it was tough. And then on top of that, as we got further along, there's more people externally that are aware that this sale is taking place. And they're aware of the price it's taking place at. So, you have this other element that they're kind of in the seller's ear, they're in my ear. Like I told you about the Jewish guy that offered me $1 million. He came to my house, offered me $1 million, just like that. Just to walk away. But what they were doing also is they were going to the seller and telling the seller, oh yeah, we'll give you more money and this. And at times the seller, call me and say, look, man, you guys don't have the money. This not going to happen. And I would be depressed, but I would not let this deal go. So, when I closed, I was like, I had to take the biggest vacation ever. But yeah, that's what I went through for a full year. And it was pretty much hell.
So is the key process changed so this never happens again to not buy deals, or what are you doing to make
No, I wouldn't say that. I would just say I learned along the way. So now I have a different mindset. If I'm doing an affordable housing deal from the start, I'm thinking that it's going to close in a year, right? So if you go in with that mindset, you can make different decisions, right? Where I was accustomed to doing these conventional deals, we close in a couple months. We all, bring our money, the seller signs off, we're good to go. I was accustomed to that. But what happens when you have a committed seller on one side and then a committed buyer, but there's like all these government entities and all these other hoops that you have to jump through, it complicates the process. So I bake that into every affordable housing deal I do from this point on. It's going to take a year to close. And then you bake that into the price. So it's another mechanism from which you can, drive the price down.
Got it. So last question, as always, what's words of wisdom that you can give to the listeners?
Words of wisdom, basically, I would leave you with this. Opportunity is all in every difficulty. So with this particular deal, I would tell you that The opportunity was, and we never said it, we bought it 5.6 million. This particular deal right now, today, worth over $12 million, right? Incredible value add opportunity. I would just like to say, when you look at particular deals, know that sometimes you can't really uncover the full spectrum of it. You can't really understand it until you get in it and do a deep dive. So the point is that it's important that you analyze your deals from various perspectives, right? So if you see, let's say affordable housing in particular, a lot of times people will just say, all right, what is the current income? They'll use the income approach to value the deal, but there's so many other means that you, like, how much is the rent undervalued? You know, all of these things we incorporated into the deal and was able to deliver tremendous value.
Awesome, Donahue. I really appreciate you sharing with the listeners. I don't know. I'm going through HUD process right now. It make me kind of question whether or not I should be going down this road, but
it's tough. As long as there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, you should be good. Also, if I could, man, I got this book. It's called Generational Wealth. That's the Key. I definitely want to put it out there for your listeners. If any of you guys are interested in creating generational wealth, all you have to do to get the book is actually subscribe to my YouTube channel, A Donahue Baker, and also join the private Facebook group, Generational Wealth Builders. And the book is yours free to help you on your journey to creating generational wealth. So I definitely wanted to put that out there in case any of your listeners are interested in building generational wealth.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you sharing with the listeners, and we'll connect with you soon.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And, you know, we're going to be talking soon. I'll definitely probably reach out to you in another week or so.
Great. You made it to this juncture, so you really love what we shared on this episode of Myers Methods Presents Multifamily Missteps. Do us a favor. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a review. And share this with somebody who's interested in multifamily investing. Until the next time, the pack is with you.